All right, so we are getting into Unit 6. This is Chapter 17, Industrial America. So we're going to look at the rise of big business, different immigration groups coming in, and labor getting organized. So here we go. All right, first thing you guys need to kind of think about is that we've got some serious innovators going on right now. All right, so we're going to have new ideas, new business models, new inventions, lots of things happening here, and a couple of different integration methods that you need to know about. Okay, so number one, there's going to be a vertical integration. This is going to be where corporations control everything. All right, from the basics of the raw good all the way up to the packaging and sales. Okay. And then we're going to have a horizontal integration, all right, which is going to pretty much just absorb all competition. So Standard Oil, all right, he is going to represent the rise of the trusts. So this is Rockefeller, and he's going to use vertical integration to control sales. All right. He's going to have allied businesses with the railroads so that he can also have a horizontal integration by merging with rivals. So he's dabbling in both. All right. And what we're talking about with a trust is that this is a legal form that organizes a small group into a board of trustees. And those trustees hold the stock for a combined group of firms, and they manage all of them as a single entity. So it's one group of guys overseeing a bunch of different stocks that are combined from all these different firms into one single entity. Okay, so really important that you know what a trust is. So again, here are examples of the vertical integration. All right, the idea that from the raw good, the actual cows, okay, to the slaughterhouses, cars, warehouses, meat packing plants, delivery wagons, okay, all of this is meat packing. So Swift, Ace, all right, these groups, that's how they function. All right, and then over here is the horizontal, right? The idea is Rockefeller has his main company and he buys up all of the independent oil refineries and they all feed him. But his trust, right, oversees all of these groups of people combined into one stock group. Okay. All right. So let's look at some of the industrialists. So we have Swift, we have Carnegie, we have Rockefeller. All right. These guys are considered either robber barons, which is not a friendly name, so remember that, or captains of industry, which is a friendly name. Okay. So forethought and thinkers. So the idea is historians over time have looked at their business practices, vertical, horizontal integration, the use of trusts, etc. And they've debated whether this is beneficial to the economy or actually detrimental to the country as a whole. So we'll debate this in class, and obviously your text is going to also lay out an argument. All right, so in 1875, we are going to get some consumer culture. John Wanamaker, okay, he's going to open up the first department store in Philly. So this is huge, right? Today we shop at Amazon, but back here we loved department stores once they started to come. All right, they were a one-stop shop and super amazing to go to. These stores are going to seek to connect with customers. Okay, they're going to use catalogs and advertising, targeting certain people. All right, catalogs are going to travel the country. They're going to go everywhere. They're going to get mailed out. People are going to look through them. They're going to place an order. That order will be shipped out on the train, delivered to the house. Right? It was like the first Amazon of its time. So by 1903, we have the Ladies' Home Journal, which is reaching over 100 million subscribers, which is going to tell women how to be great homemakers. All right, so then we're going to get the corporate workplace. All right, this is where we're really going to get management and salesmen. Okay, so remember that we kind of were developing that middle class earlier. We were kind of forming that managerial role earlier. Now it's really going to be solidified, and they're going to be considered the white collar professionals. Okay, these are the managers and the supervisors of warehouses, of manufacturing, of offices, of typists, of all of those types of things. These are going to be the white collar because they wore shirts with white collars. We're also going to get this thing called a traveling salesman. Probably nothing that you really know of. They did still exist when I was a kid, but these guys pack up a bag and they travel the country selling goods right out of a suitcase. Okay, they brought the product to you from across the country. So you would see it, and you could either, if it was small enough, buy it right then and have it, or you would place your order with the traveling salesman, and then that product would arrive within a few weeks. Women are going to begin moving into the corporate office. Okay, so 77% of stenographers, which are basically, it's a fancy word for people who take notes with a special shorthand language. All right, and typists are going to become women. So this is going to become a gendered profession starting around this time. What you need to remember is that this is pre-daycare. Okay, so mostly single women or women whose children were at school were able to do this work, not women with young children. So those women would work at home. They would either do laundry for people around them, they would do sewing projects, or they would take in boarders. So while the husband was off at work, they would oversee and kind of be the landlord for the boarders. People who rented rooms there. So by 1900, we have over 4 million women making money, okay? Wage earners out there. A third of them are going to be domestics, that's laundry, housework. A third of them are going to work in the industry, right? That's similar to Lowell Mills, but we're expanding out into different warehouses and manufacturing settings. And then the rest are going to remain as office workers or teachers or nurses. All right, so this is an image of Swift meat packing. Okay, so it was, as you can kind of see, not the most pleasant setup, but it was kind of a streamlined process. All right, it was used to where here's your meat hanging up. These guys are slicing it and dicing it over here. Then it's getting laid out and cleaned up, all right, and sawed up over here. So it's almost like your first automation system here, okay? And then right here is our white collar supervisor, okay? Keeping an eye on everybody. All right, so let's start looking at people who are coming in, okay? So what you need to know, right, looking back at that image, not the healthiest, cleanest setting, okay? So industrial work was dangerous. There was zero regulations, so people could do whatever they wanted, all right? For example, an average of 2,000 U.S. coal miners would die a year during this time period because they would just keep digging and digging. Nobody was making sure that things were safe. They would suffocate. Their mines would collapse, all right, and these people would die. So no supervision or regulation. Factories emitted so much pollution into the air and water that people often wondered why they were getting sick and nobody thought about it, okay? And then unskilled labor, okay? Women and children made up a lot of this population because, well, they're women and children, so they can do the unskilled jobs. All right, by 1900, 1 in 5 children under 16 are working outside of the home. Okay, so that's you getting a job in a warehouse or a factory or some sort of unskilled job, not going to school anymore. Okay, 1 in 5. So industries were hiring new immigrants. We have a whole new flux of immigrants coming in. And then African Americans, please remember, the North may have fought a war to free them, but we certainly are not going to respect them. We are going to pay them less. All right, that's even if we hire them. Okay, and then really, the women are who we hired for domestic work. And then men were, if we really needed help, we would give them a job. But they weren't ever our first choice in the North. All right, this is a good image of the South. So the South is moving on, okay? So yes, we still have our agriculture. So you can see here tobacco, right? You can see all of this is still cotton, all right? But right here is where our textile manufacturing is going to start, all right? But even more, take note of the coal and iron mining that's going on, all right? So this is going to be pretty big. And then soon here in Birmingham, all right, we are going to have some really big industry moving in for steel and other industries. All right, the newcomers that are coming in, we're getting a bunch from the West, okay? So from Europe, we're getting the Irish. So remember, we don't like the Irish. The Irish do not apply. They smell funny, talk funny, and they're Catholic. So they're coming over. They're not our favorites, all right? 1 in 3 immigrants eventually are going to return home. So the purpose of them coming here is to get a job, make money, and then take off and go back. Okay. And if you're Irish, then we're pretty okay with that because, well, yep, we don't like them until now. And then East, okay, so we're going to get Italians, Greeks, Eastern European Jews. They're going to be coming over, all right? Their big window is 1880 to 1920. We're going to get over 3 million poverty-stricken Jews coming from Russia, Ukraine, Poland, all right, all escaping religious persecution. Take note of that time frame, 1920, because we're going to institute quotas after that, which is sort of going to affect the amount of Jews we take in during the German movement in the 1930s leading up to World War II. All right, but of course, it's just not the Irish that we don't like. It's definitely the Chinese, okay? So the Chinese are going to come over in 1840. Remember that the Chinese in China, right, they're going to invent this cool stuff like gunpowder, dynamite, things like that. All right, so these guys are going to come over. They're going to come for the gold rush, okay? They're going to make some decent money. Then they're going to set up restaurants and laundries. This is going to be what they're kind of known for on the coastal areas. They are actually going to exist on western towns as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. They're kind of all over the place, and there's a reason why. Because they are here and they help us build the railroads. Okay, since these guys were really good with dynamite and explosives, they were the ones that we sent in to go blow the holes in the mountains so that we could get a transcontinental railroad all the way from East Coast to West Coast through the Rocky Mountains. So they played a pretty important role. And then after that, we wanted them to go away, but they didn't. Okay. So during their time here, we are going to discriminate them. Okay. This is going to intensify during our economic depression during the 1870s. All right. We are going to pass a law called the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. This is going to be with us until 1943. And basically, it's a quota. It says, no more, can't come over. This is the number we have. And a lot of you have to go away anyway. Okay. Which was kind of what the Chinese were doing. They would come over, they'd make money, and then they'd leave. That's what the majority did. Only a few actually stayed from the numbers that were here. So. All right, this is an image, okay, of the anti-Chinese movement that was going on, okay? We have the Republican platform, we have the Democratic platform, and stuck in the middle is the fact that they both talk about how much they hate the Chinese. So take note of how this Chinese man is being represented here in this cartoon. Yeah, just remember that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to get trade unions, okay? All right, and here's the deal with trade unions. They're usually organized by craft. They are for men mostly, okay? Only a few allow women, and they are only for white people, okay? We are going to have a black union here soon that we'll talk about, but workers are going to start organizing. They're going to begin negotiating with employers for benefits. The idea is getting something for all of the work they're doing, okay? So oftentimes, a lot of these industrial laborers are working somewhere in the 60 to 70 hours a week range, and they're just looking for some benefits because the pay isn't great. So they're looking for being taken care of here. Striking was not the normal because you would get blacklisted and you wouldn't even get a job, okay? So you had to walk a really fine line here for a while. And then we're going to get farmers. They're actually going to start to organize into what's called a grange. So National Grange or the Grangers. Okay, they're going to organize together because the railroads are kind of gouging them. So they're going to try to figure out how to negotiate deals with the railroad rather than just being stuck with whatever price the railroad dictates all of the time. So. Then we're going to get the Greenback Labor Party. These guys are going to be Grangers coming in. They're going to be laborers coming in, okay? And they're going to be really anti-convict labor. What's that? Well, read the 13th Amendment, okay? The 13th Amendment did free slaves, so neither slavery nor involuntary servitude is allowed in our country, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. So if you were convicted of a crime such as not having a letter from your former plantation slash master slash boss in the South, you could be arrested. If you were caught walking from point A to point B in a time of day that was illegal, you were arrested. If you were arrested, you were put in jail, at which point, because of the 13th Amendment clause that says, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, once you're convicted, then those jails would rent you out as free labor. So you didn't make the money for the labor that you were out providing, okay, in the gang labor system, the convict labor system. All right, the jails made the money. All right, so think about that. That was another way that we got agricultural labor in the South, and different constructions made. So the Greenback Party is going to be against that. All right. And then they're going to be pro individual man's vote, right? So the idea is one man, one vote. They're going to get the 8-hour workday, and they're going to want to increase money circulation, which isn't totally great in an economic system, but they had the right idea. All right. In 1869, we're going to get a secret society here. All right. Terence Powderly. Okay. And they're going to want factories to be run by workers. All right. They're going to want temperance. All right. They sound a lot kind of like some guy named Marx. All right. So it's not going to go far, but they try. Haymarket Square, we're going to have an incident where the Knights of Labor, they're going to have a spontaneous strike against the McCormick Reaper Company in Chicago. It's going to lead to violence. There's going to be some bombs set off. Some people are going to die. And then all of a sudden, everybody hates labor groups, and they think they're all a bunch of violent protesters. All right, so then we're going to get the Farmers Alliance. Okay, so this is similar to a Grange society. So they're going to come and they're going to advocate for a middleman when it comes to sales. All right, they're going to propose federal price support for crops in public warehouses. They're going to ask for loans. Okay, different things like this. The idea is farmers have nobody really supporting them right now. No platform, no party, no nothing. All right. And they're kind of getting taken advantage of. So they're looking for people to kind of help them out with their crops, selling them, finding level price for the market, railroad price contracts instead of fluctuating prices. So these are the kinds of things that they're looking for. All right, with the Knights of Labor down because of the Haymarket, we're going to get the American Federation of Labor, and this is going to be led by Samuel Gompers. Okay. All right, so he's going to demand workers earn a share of the corporate profit, right? So the idea is if we work this hard for the company to be that successful, we want a little something like that. Again, a little Marxist. Okay, so the idea is now today it's called a stock option. But then it was not anything anybody wanted to do. Okay, Gomper's doctrine was pretty much just pure and simple unionism. We're here to fight for the worker. We're here to have organization. We're here to have benefits and be together. Okay, better wages, better hours, better working conditions. No women or blacks need apply because you will not be allowed in. All right, folks, get this into your big ideas. Remember, there's stuff in here that could definitely fit in your political figures. All right, your representation of the decade, a quote. There's some key events in there that you could definitely go through, and definitely some new themes that we haven't really touched on too much yet. So update your big ideas, and until next time.